understand everybody.
Just speak apply my language. Yeah, my life is so professional.
Xin chào! Thanks for watching my recap on the last week. Sorry, I did not do a lot. I am back to school. I have been somewhat busy. As you could see, I started my volunteering at the orphanage. Tomorrow is actually my first day, and my first day of actually helping out and assisting the children. And so the children at the rehabilitation center have developmental delays. They have problems with physical activities as well as some mental disabilities. And so I will be doing pool exercises with them. They have a little pool, and I'll just be helping them do some exercises, feeding them, putting to bed, just some daily, their daily activities, daily routines, just helping out as I could. And you might be wondering, why am I wearing this mask? Have I bought into the Asian culture? Well, I have somewhat done this. I have done my own little research and decided to make it a little bit of an expose. So let's look at the facts, shall we? So why do Asians have this phenomena of wearing face masks? When I first came to Asia, I didn't understand before how widely and publicly accepted wearing a face mask is in this culture. A lot of people, a lot of foreigners, when I ask them, they tell me that it's because it's to protect from air pollution, but then they follow up with, it's not an effective method. It doesn't really help them in the long term. And so I decided to do a little bit of my own research. I looked at some academic articles, which I will cite as I continue on with the specific claims. So in the Critical Public Health Journal in 2016, Maria Shun-Yin-Sin made a article detailing the history of SARS and this masking fear. And so SARS is severe acute respiratory syndrome. Symptoms are fever, shortness of breath, dry cough, and just difficulty breathing. And if the disease escalates, you see muscle aches, sore throat, fatigue, and ultimately it is fatal. And so it is spread through the nasal passages through the air, and it quickly invades cells and replicates. And so this disease is so epidemic in China. in 2003 that People's Republic of China forcibly volunteering their citizens to following these public health procedures of wearing a face mask. And so, for example, university students, when they came back from the Lunar New Year in 2002, 2003, they would not be able to attend classes or stay in the classroom unless they were wearing a face mask. And then we also see in May 2003, at a computer convention, masks being handed out at the entrance, and those who did refuse to wear the masks were followed around by security and persuaded to wear the masks. So we see the government taking these measures, which is understandable in order to prevent this disease, because also in that same month, we see them criminalizing the intentional transmission of the disease, because there was a case in the province of Henan where a peasant was maliciously spreading SARS. So we see Western culture acknowledging this Asian phenomenon of mask wearing. And Time magazine labels the object as a visual epidemic and ridiculing the masks and its effectiveness. We also see Dr. Lo Wing-Lok say that there are tiniest holes in the masks, calling in doubt into the effectiveness of if it's actually preventing the spread of SARS. These doubts did not really persuade Asians into not purchasing these masks. They were sold in mass bulk. There was almost commandeered by the Department of Health exclusively for healthcare officers in Hong Kong because they were in such high demand. It goes into their mentality of it's better to be safe than sorry. Western media really pushes this mask as a symbol of the Chinese and racializing it into an Asian phenomenon in the media, and they really call it a symbol of facelessness and untrustworthiness of Asian culture, of the People's Republic of China, as compliance, regulation, and manipulation. However, in the Chinese media, we see a Hong Kong newspaper allegedly claiming that the Chinese officials were covering up the severity of the outbreak, inciting fear and terror into the citizens to wearing the mask. Government officials in the People's Republic of China acknowledge these claims by Westerners, and they don't want to be seen as untrustworthy. And so we see like a prime minister at the time going to visit the province disease control center without a mask, doing these public events without masks on, which is very ironic considering that they're enforcing their citizens to be wearing these masks. And there was a lot of cartoon artists in America bringing to light this hypocrisy going on within China. So we see Western media comparing face masks to the masks of terrorists and the terror that this disease is causing, and compared to actual terrorists inciting this fear in people. And actually in 2007, we see a horror movie come out 28 weeks later. It's a pandemic horror movie about the rage virus. And it just really shows how Western culture distorts these kind of diseases and makes it out into a profitable Hollywood movie in a way that they could sensationalize it when this was an actual epidemic. And Western media really kind of compares it to a time of the herd behavior under Mao Zedong in the 1950s, where everybody is conforming and passive uses this to explain the mass sales of masks. So now it really comes down to the question of how effective are these masks? And so for the environmental health perspectives, we see in their study of testing 2 Beijing hospitals with participants being randomly assigned. They conducted 2-hour walks around on 2 separate days around the area, and they were told to wear highly efficient air filtering masks on one of the 2 walks. And they saw that 98 of the participants that completed the study reported reduction in symptoms, perceived exertion, and perceived pollution levels. And the use of the face masks were significantly associated with beneficial cardiovascular characteristics, including reduced blood pressure and improved heart rate visibility. The other study I looked at was from the Applied Biosafety Journal, an article by Larry E. Bowen from the Southern Research Institute in Birmingham, Alabama. And they tested 4 types of masks: surgical face mask, pre-shaped face mask, bandanas, and the N95 face masks. And they ultimately saw that the N95 actually had a 90% efficiency, whereas all the other 3 had less than 34%. This is protection from dust, allergens, and infection aerosols with the face masks. So, thus in conclusion, I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that all these Asian people, all these Vietnamese people were actually being smart, and it was not just a placebo effect or cultural phenomenon, or a belief that it was protecting them for air pollution from another second closer to death. And so it's a pleasant surprise that I was wrong, and I'm very happy, and I will probably start wearing my face mask more when I go to the bus stop, because you definitely see the exhaust out there. It's not as regulated as America, so